Hey everyone, welcome back. It is another Wednesday, and I'm here to show off my project and knit with y'all. Um, I am very excited about this WIP Wednesday. I've got a special topic. You probably already noticed that I got a haircut since last week. I'm going to be talking all about my hairstyle and how it's changed over the years. And, let's get into that topic. Okay, so before we get into the topic, I wanted to show off the finished slipper that I made. So this is the left side slipper, which I have finished since my last WIP Wednesday video. If you haven't seen my video focusing on the slippers just by themselves, definitely go check that out because there is a whole video series that I'm making following the progress of these slippers. So the left side is done, and I have made very good progress on the right side. So I'm really excited to show that off as well. So here is the right side. So we're actually really making progress. I'm getting closer and closer to finishing this up, which is good because I'm kind of tired of working on it. But one thing you should notice is on this one, I've been using English style knitting for the entire project on this slipper. And you can see that my tension is much more even all the way across than when I was using Continental. So for reference, on the other slipper, you can see this uneven tension here in these first couple rows. Like, it doesn't look as clean as this one does. So, there was a bit of a learning curve with this one, but we got there eventually. So yeah, I'm already working on the sole here. So that's the pink section. And I basically just need to make the sole all the way down back to here and then sew it up, and then I'll be ready. So if I'm really productive during the week, then maybe this weekend will be an opportunity for me to try washing them. But if not, then I think definitely by the weekend after that. So it's coming very soon. We're gonna find out if these felt down to wearable size like so soon. So as far as the topic goes, my hair. Yeah, I got it chopped over the weekend. I really was just kind of tired of having the long hair, and it just gets to be like a certain length where it's just like a lot harder to get ready in the morning. Like if I'm thinking about showering at the gym and drying my hair at the gym, like all of that stuff, all the things that I have to do for my hair when it's longer, it just like the list was just growing and growing to the point where, I was just like, it wasn't really styling the way that I wanted it to anymore because of the length. And so my hair has like natural waves that go through it. And like it's a little short right now, so you can't really see the wave. But when it's like a little longer, like maybe about an inch longer, it does start to like kind of wave on its own. But when it's too long, it gets too heavy. And so then it weighs itself down, and so then the part here like right by the base of my head gets like super flat, and so then it like loses that structure and wave, but then the wave is like down here where the hair is like lighter still. And so it just, I don't know, it became like I really like the wave, but when it gets long and heavy like that, I don't like it because it's not consistently wavy all throughout. Which, maybe I could have gotten it thinned or something to like help bring back some of those waves like closer to my head. But I don't really like getting my hair thinned either because I do have like luscious locks. I have very thick hair. And like every time I get a haircut, it gets thinned. And I've tried thinning it myself before, and just like a complete disaster. Usually when they thin it at the barbershop, it's not so bad. Like it really needs it probably. But then I'm just like not used to having thin hair. So when I like run my hands through it, I'm like, oh, there's nothing there. um, so it's a little bit jarring. Not gonna lie. Like, can't do my hair flips anymore, so that's kind of sad. Uh, but I just figured, like, with me turning 31 in a couple weeks, I I just kind of want to start that with kind of like a clean slate. And I didn't really want to like still be carrying the long hair with me for that. Plus, like, if any of you have been following along, you'll know that I am going to be on the job hunt soon. So I was like, you know what? Actually, now is like probably a good time to chop it off because, this will hopefully make me look or at least feel more presentable. Like, I won't be worrying about what my hair looks like during the meeting. Like, did I have a crazy out of place hair or something? So, yeah, I figured it was a good time because even though it's a bit short, I, it'll grow back out. Um, and same with my beard. Like, my beard is really short now. So it's like I'm really adjusting to so many different haircuts here. But I actually used to wear my hair like this all the time. I didn't ever let my hair grow out. Um, and in fact, when I was in high school, I wore a buzz cut, just, like straight to the skin buzz cut. No, okay, not straight to the skin, but you know what I mean. Like, it was basically like my hair was kind of like this length on the sides, but all over. So I never left anything on top. And I did it that way during those times because I was just doing it myself. Um, but then I think in college I started growing my hair out. So yeah, I was doing like a buzz cut all the way up through like I think freshman year or something of college. And I was like just doing it myself, and it was such a nice way to save money. And so, but then, you're limited in what kind of hairstyle you could actually have. And so the easiest thing was obviously just do everything the same, and voila, there's your haircut. But I think around like sophomore year, definitely by junior year of college, I had gotten into growing my hair out a little bit. And so I started getting haircuts at actual like salons, or actually I think I was going to Sports Cuts at the time because there was one like right by campus. But because I liked wearing my hair short, kind of like a similar style to this, where there's like short on the side, a little bit length on the top. That's kind of what I was liking back in the day, but I couldn't do it myself. So I still had to go get my hair cut. So based on the length, I was like, well, I need to get it cut like basically every 3 weeks, or at least once a month. So I started to realize, man, like I'm spending so much money on a haircut every time. And I think at the time the haircuts were only $20, which I would never pay for a $20 haircut these days. Like, no way. I've totally grown out of that kind of like cheap haircut life. But yeah, I would go to the Sports Cuts because they would do like haircut, and then they would put like a hot towel on your face, which was really nice. It was like a whole package that they would do for you. And it was nice. I did really like that. I wasn't a huge fan of the sports on the TV, but it was, for the price and for the way my hair looked after it, it was definitely better than Great Clips. So, but then it was just like, So that was junior year. I know I was doing that. But then, just after one too many haircuts that I wasn't a huge fan of, I decided to try cutting my hair myself again. But this time, not with doing buzz cuts. So, anyway, that was like a long journey there too, because I was doing kind of like an undercut hairstyle where I would like only trim the sides. And so the top would be like super long, like down to here from like, so, I mean, that I wore for a while, but I didn't really like the way that it looked. And it honestly felt kind of weird every time I buzzed the side, because then the top hairs would get kind of stuck in the short hairs, almost like a Velcro situation, because the fresh hairs just capture the long hairs. And so, anyway, so I didn't do that for very long. By senior year of college, I was getting a lot more comfortable with cutting my own hair, like even the top. And so it was a style similar to this. I mean, I don't think I could do this. So I didn't even try cutting my own hair this time. But it was similar to this, but kind of more like, oh, it was almost like a faux hawk in the middle, because I would just like put all this hair up, and then I would trim the sides, and then I would do the top as like one single layer, or like basically as best as I could. So anyway, I actually did get pretty good at cutting my own hair, and that lasted probably, so if I started doing it junior year, I did it for the rest of college. That's 2 years. And then I gave myself my own haircut for the next like 5 years after college. So actually, I saved so much money by doing my own hair. And for a while, I was pretty comfortable with like the same style. So I got pretty used to doing it. And, I definitely had some pretty good haircuts. I had some pretty bad ones too, which I feel like maybe people wouldn't be able to tell, but I can tell. Like when I look back at certain pictures, I'm like, yeah, that was a haircut you did yourself, huh? Like I can tell. And the way that I can tell is because my hair length on the top didn't always look consistent. Like here you can see like all the hairs are like about the same length, and like they kind of stop at the same place. But like with doing it myself, I don't have that experience, and so I wasn't always the best at trimming the top hairs to make sure that they were all consistent. So yeah, you can definitely tell in some photos. But when the pandemic hit in 2020, that's when like the whole world changed for me, because my bosses, well, actually, not my bosses even, but like the whole campus of USC had to like completely shut down. And so as a lab worker, it was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't work from home. And trust me, I would work from home because I could do this all day, but I can't, like it's just the nature of my work. It just has to be in person. So my bosses, they came up with assignments for us that we could do at home while like, still contributing to the research. So we were writing research papers at home to make sure we're like still doing science and still pushing the lab forward. So, just like home, bored a lot, kind of sick of the same hair. And I was like, maybe I should start growing it out a bit. And so that's when I started growing out my hair for the first time. And I just decided, like, you know what? It doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm just going to keep it growing just to see what happens. I don't know what it's going to look like longer, because at that point, I had never had it longer than probably like 4 or 5 inches on the top. But if you remember, that was when I was in college and I was doing an undercut on the side. So I was like, you know, I've never really seen my hair fully long. So I thought it would be like a fun journey to give it a shot. So I let my hair grow, and I let it grow and grow and grow. I don't think I cut my hair um, for like 2 years or something like that. Or I probably did some like touch ups here and there. But as far as like getting it chopped off and like, you know, resetting everything, I didn't do that. Let's see, 2020 is when I started it. Well, when I started this job, it was 2022. So I think it was, yeah, probably about 2 years. But my hair was like very short. So it had a long way to go to get any kind of length. Like I had to grow my hair for 3 to 4 months before it even looked like this length. You know, so that's telling you how short it started. So it really did take like a long, long time. And I did eventually get it down to like about like mid neck length, maybe a little bit longer. And like I have mixed feelings about having long hair. Okay. So on the one hand, I do think it's cool. Like it's a hairstyle that not everybody could just get, right? Like you have to commit to growing your hair out if you want to have like all your own natural hair, like without extensions or something like that. Because I guess anyone could get extensions and have long hair overnight. But, you know, if you wanted to grow it yourself, like you gotta wait. So it was kind of cool to like have the long hair, and, you know, it was long enough that I could put it up in a little bun. And, you know, there's just a lot more that you can do with long hair. And I do really like the feeling of like running your fingers through your hair and, you know, kind of being able to whip your hair around. Like it's just fun to have long hair. But I can only do it for so long. You know, there's like a limiting factor there for me because I don't know, I just feel like it doesn't really fit with the way I see myself. And so sometimes when I have long hair, I get a little bit dysphoric of like, what am I doing with all this hair? You know, it's just too much hair and it's always in my face, takes too long to dry. It like is sometimes like super hard to style it the way that I want, especially like these side hairs. They get really wavy, like way more wavy than the rest of it. And so they have a mind of their own. And like I said, I have thick hair. So it just like juts out so much from the side of my face. And I just hate that so much. And so those are like the reasons I can't have long hair for very long, because I get so annoyed with it and I just want to like rip it off my head. But anyway, okay, let's see, where was I? So yes, I grew out my hair for those 2 years, but then in 2022, after I got this job, I was like, my hair needs help. Like it is basically unstyled from, you know, when I first let it grow out. I hadn't been getting it cut at all. So I had like really weird like sections that were like way too long, and like it was really unkempt. I hated certain parts of it. But for a while, I was able to kind of like style it and get it to lay exactly how I wanted. So I just kind of like didn't do anything, didn't know what to do with it. And I for sure was not going to cut it myself because, you know, doing it myself, I did have a lot of success, but never from a starting point of long hair. So I was like terrified to do it myself. So I ended up booking an appointment at a salon. Like I never had gone to salons, and, you know, I had always gone to those like quick places like the Sports Cuts or Great Clips or something like that. And I never paid more than like $30 for a haircut. But I was like, you know what? I'm looking at it as an investment in myself to get this haircut because I know I'll feel better once I get it done, and I really just need to like see a professional. I need to like go to somebody who knows what they're doing, and they can maybe even like help me with the styling, like what's gonna look good on my face shape and all of that. So I went, it was like a really cute salon, and the guy there, like, he was like very bubbly and happy to help. He also had long hair, so I was like, yes, this is like perfect place to be. So I got a little bit of a trim. I told him I wanted to, keep growing it, but I needed it like tidied up. And he did like such a good job. I was so happy with it. And I was like, all right, I'm good to keep growing it. Let's just see what happens. So I let my hair grow for a couple more months after that. But then I made a mistake because I decided after only a couple months, I think maybe only 6 months since my last haircut, I decided to go get my hair trimmed again, which I don't know why I did that, because I should have just kept it growing if I wanted to keep growing it longer. And I went back to the same guy, but I don't think he really listened to me the second time. Like the first time, it was a great haircut. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I found a hairstylist that can help me. And, I never go to the same person twice for like multiple reasons, but it's not for not wanting to, it's either like when I was doing the sports clips appointments, I would just see anyone, whoever was there. That's kind of like how a lot of barbershops work. Just walk in, see whoever's first available, and then they cut your hair or whatever. But at a salon, I was like, okay, well, this is my chance to kind of like make a connection with somebody, and then, they can kind of get to know what I like and over time, But he just didn't do as good a job the second time, and told him I still wanted to keep it growing out, but he ended up like cutting a lot of hairs that are like close to the front. He cut them really short, and I think he was just trying to clean it up a little bit. But I was really disappointed because like I said earlier, I don't like the hairs on the side, how they poke out. And when I had super long hair, I was like so grateful when these hairs were finally long enough to be held in place by a headband, because, I felt like I had more control over the way the hair looked, and, I could tame them easily by just putting on a headband. But he cut the hairs so short that the hairs on the side were not even long enough to be held in place by a headband. So they were jutting out all over the place. And I was like, oh, I've worked so hard to get my hair grown out all this way. And now I feel like it's ruined. Like, I don't want to have to go through that awkward phase again. Like, I already paid my dues here. I'm just trying to have that long hair. Especially because I also was like really interested in being able to put the whole thing in a bun. But these hairs were so short now that it was gonna take minimum 1 year or more for them to grow back out. And I just already knew, like after that haircut, I knew that it wasn't gonna last long because it was basically ruined. So I was like really disappointed about that. But it inspired me to find some other salon a couple months later, probably like another 6 or so months later, or maybe even quicker than that. I was like, I am just gonna chop it all off. I don't even care. Like I tried the long hair thing, didn't quite work for me. Like it worked for me, I think, but not in the ways that I was wanting to. And it didn't seem like I had much left in the tank for long hair. So I think that must have been like 2023. I think I got it all completely chopped, like really similar to this. And then I was like, all right, great. I can go back to cutting my own hair because I'm starting with like a base that I'm familiar with, and I don't have to be like, I can maintain this haircut. So I was doing that for a while. But then I had a bout of alopecia. So I had an alopecia areata spot in the back of my head. So if you're not familiar with what that is, it's just like it's an autoimmune condition where your immune system attacks hair follicles for some reason. I don't think it's really known the reason. I think mine is related to a medication I was taking. Anyway, I had this spot on the back of my head, and I'd never had one before. And so I was cutting my own hair, and I, at the end, saw this like giant spot in the back. And I was like, did I do that? Like, was that my fault? I don't remember that happening. Like the razor guard was on the whole time. And so it took a long time, like a long time to figure out what happened, because the hair doesn't grow back right away. It takes like minimum 6 months for the hair to even start growing back. So then I was like really scared to cut my own hair, because I was like, well, what's gonna happen if I cut it myself and there's another alopecia area there? So then I started growing my hair out again a little bit, kind of like, just basically I wanted that spot to be covered. But I had cut my hair so short, literally to the skin, because I thought, like, I had that little bald patch on the back. I thought maybe I accidentally shaved that part off. So I was like, well, I'll just shave the rest of it to be like really tight to the skin so that it'll all grow back in the same way. But because it was alopecia, it wasn't growing back as quickly as my regular hairs. So it took like a couple months probably to really figure out like what was going on. And then I started getting treatments for that, and finally the hair started growing back in. So then I went like about a year of just like maintaining my own haircuts. And then I had the same thing happen again, where I had an alopecia area in the back. And I noticed while I was giving myself a haircut, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so annoying. I hate that this keeps happening. And so I was like, all right, well, stop cutting it, like don't go any shorter. Because, I had learned from the first time, like I know exactly what this is, and I want it to be exposed as little as possible. Because actually my mom had the same thing happen to her once, but she didn't even know because she has long hair. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to grow my hair as basically like a protective layer to make sure that I will be covered and like I won't feel vulnerable and like exposed in the back. And I'll just keep the long hair until that area is nice and covered again. And then except for me telling you right now, like no one will know. So I think my strategy there worked really well, because I didn't really suffer. Like the first time I had alopecia, I really, really suffered. I was very self-conscious and like hyper aware of how the back of my head looked. And I just really hated it. And I didn't really like my hairstyle either, just because it was so short. Like all around, like I never have my hair that short on the sides. But it was just kind of like my way of trying to figure out the alopecia and like cope with it in like a way that I thought would be less noticeable. Because the problem is, like with alopecia, when your hair starts growing back in, like your regular hairs, it grows in like all around the bald spot. So it just leaves like a painfully noticeable, like perfectly circular area on the back of your head. So, when I was shaving it down to the skin there, it was a lot less noticeable that there was a patch that didn't have hair. It was still noticeable, but you know, it wasn't as bad as when the hair actually started growing in. But I eventually was like, you know what? It's either let the hair grow in and have like a protective layer, or just keep doing this for who knows how long. And then, you know, you just have to keep dealing with like having this short hair. So anyway, that's how I ended up taking the plunge into growing my hair out again this past time. So what you just saw was the result of me growing my hair out for probably like 8 or 9 months. I think I noticed I had another round of alopecia in April, and my hair was like about this length. So that's when I was like, all right, we're growing it out. We're not dealing with like a publicly visible alopecia spot again. So I grew it out and actually really liked it. I really liked the way that it was looking, which is why I kept it going for so long. Because I was kind of like, ooh, maybe I should try like having super long hair again. Because also my husband has like very long hair, like down to his shoulders. And so I was like, oh, that may be fun, kind of fun if we like match, you know, like we both have long hair, and that's like our thing or something. I don't know. But I was just inspired to keep my hair because of how his hair was looking. But then, lo and behold, one day recently, like a couple of weeks ago, maybe I guess about a week ago, I came home and he had completely chopped his hair, like even shorter than mine. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow. It looks really good. He's really cute. But anyway, it like triggered me to be like, well, if he cut his hair, then I don't really need, like, it takes away a reason for me to have long hair, because now having long hair is, I'm just on my own. Like, I'm not matching with him or anything. Like, we're not on the same journey anymore, which, you know, obviously it's not the main reason I got a haircut, but it definitely was a factor, because I was like, well, he looks like super cute with a haircut. Like, I should get a haircut. Just like clean all this up a little bit. I also just felt like, you know, with like the job stuff coming up, and I feel like I've been struggling to find motivation a lot of days, like for work related things. I thought like if I'm all cleaned up and like look polished, then maybe it will motivate me more, because I'll like, I don't know, I won't feel lazy or feel like I'm like hiding behind my hair or something, you know? So decided to just take the plunge this weekend and go to another salon and get it all chopped. So yeah, no regrets. I think it looks really good. And I actually really like that I enjoy my hair at various lengths, because it means that, you know, I won't have to really get this cut for hopefully like 6 months or so. Maybe like trim it up on the sides. But since I can actually cut my own hair, especially the sides are so easy. Like I can maintain it myself, and like kind of use those hair cutting skills that I gained in college and in the years after that. But kind of leave the top to grow out and get wavy and long again. So anyway, yeah, I really enjoy the salon I went to, and I have no problem paying expensive haircut fees because I just, you know, I want somebody to do it right. And since I like my hair at various lengths, it's not like I'm going to the barbershop like every month or anything like I used to back in the day. So anyway, I'm very happy with the cut and I hope you guys like it. I am going to be showing it off in so many videos coming up. So make sure you stay tuned to my channel. Give it a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate that. And I will keep working on this slipper, already making really good progress on the sole, and basically just need it to be long enough to fold over, and then we'll sew it up and get it felted for you. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you next Wednesday.